I've always been the afterthought in my family, the quiet one, the he's just doing his little coffee thing guy. To them, I was Liam the barista, with a dream that didn't matter. But I learned to play the part, smile at brunches, nod at backhanded compliments, and silently sip my espresso while they sipped their imported wine. My 31st birthday dinner was held at Velvet Roast's private rooftop. Ironic, really, considering I practically lived behind the espresso machine there years ago. Candlelit tables, artfully plated desserts, skyline views. It had all the ingredients of a perfect evening. Until I opened my birthday gift, a coupon, not even a heartfelt card, just a $25 soft voucher to some discount store called Bargain Town, folded like a crumpled receipt, tossed in a designer envelope. Oh, come on, Liam. It's useful. My sister Chloe smirked, her voice dripping with amusement. You're always budgeting. Figured this might actually help. Margaret, my mother, and the CEO of Whitmore Holdings, didn't even look up from her phone. She just nodded slightly. Practical. Unlike those hobbies you call businesses, I looked at them, the people who shared my last name but never really saw me. Chloe twirled her champagne flute like she owned the universe. Ryan, my younger brother, chuckled softly, not even realizing he was laughing at me. And my mother, Margaret Whitmore, queen of legacy, powerhouse of a woman, treated the whole thing like it was some kind of hilarious charity effort. Then Chloe leaned in, casually smug. Hey, if you're serious about turning your life around, I can talk to HR. We're hiring assistants at Whitmore. Entry level, but it's something. I almost laughed. Almost. They didn't know. They had no idea. About the shares. About the moves I'd been making. About how tomorrow morning everything would change. I didn't go home after the dinner. Instead, I sat in the back seat of a sleek black SUV, staring out at the lights of New York, the city I'd once felt too small to conquer. Now, it barely contained me. Elena was driving, my assistant, but really, the only person who ever saw what I was building. She didn't speak much, which I appreciated. Some people fill silence with noise. She filled it with focus. You ready? She asked, glancing at me through the mirror as we pulled up to my building. I nodded. Are the documents prepped? She reached back and handed me a folder. Inside, my final move. The signature that would cement what I already controlled. Whitmore Holdings, all 52% of it. My hands brushed over the company letterhead. My name printed in bold under interim CEO. Funny how the word interim made me smirk. This wasn't temporary. This was a reckoning. Chloe, with all her degrees, she never used. Margaret, who had spent decades sculpting an empire, but left the rot at its center untouched. They saw me as a barista, nothing more. But while they mocked my career, I was quietly buying their future. Through shell companies, dummy investment groups, offshore capital, nobody ever saw me coming. I stepped out onto the balcony of my penthouse, bought anonymously 2 years ago, watching the city glow beneath me. I had started this journey with a bag of coffee beans, a worn apron, and a dream too heavy for most people to carry. And now I had everything they never thought I was capable of. Tomorrow at 8:00 a.m., I walk through the front doors of Whitmore Holdings, not as Liam the barista, but as the man who owns it all. And they're not ready. I walked into the lobby of Whitmore Holdings at exactly 8:00 a.m. The receptionist barely looked up at first, probably assuming I was someone's assistant, or maybe an intern who had gotten the dress code wrong. I was wearing a charcoal gray suit, tailored to perfection, understated, clean, and sharp. Can I help? She started, but her voice caught halfway through. Recognition flickered in her eyes. Maybe she remembered me from a company gala years ago, standing awkwardly in a corner next to the dessert table, while everyone acted like I didn't exist. Or maybe she'd already seen the news. Because by now, everyone had. The press release had dropped at 6:00 a.m., exactly as planned. Liam Whitmore acquires controlling interest in Whitmore Holdings. Appointed interim CEO pending board confirmation. It had been written 6 months ago. All I had to do last night was sign it. The elevator ride to the 57th floor was painfully slow, but that suited me fine. I wanted them to stew a little. When the doors opened, the usual chatter outside the executive boardroom died immediately. Heads turned. Some stood. A few looked away, unsure of what was happening. I walked through the hallway like it belonged to me, because now it did. Inside the boardroom, Chloe was mid-rant. Her voice was raised, her cheeks flushed with frustration. A familiar scene. She was the kind of leader who thought volume equaled authority. "What the hell is this?" she snapped, waving a printed copy of the press release. "Who even authorized this garbage? This is fake, this is illegal." The CFO looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. I stepped into the room. Chloe's voice cut off mid-sentence. She turned, already fuming. "Liam, what are you doing here?" I walked to the head of the table and pulled out a chair. Sat, calm, confident. Not a barista anymore. Not the family embarrassment. I dropped a stack of documents onto the table. The sound echoed in the silent room. "Today's a shareholder meeting, isn't it?" I said casually, glancing around. "And since I now own 52% of this company, I figured I should attend." The silence that followed was delicious. Chloe blinked. "You own what?" I slid the documents forward. Margaret wasn't here yet. She was never early to these things. Always made an entrance. One of the board members picked up the paperwork and began scanning. His eyebrows climbed higher with every page. After a full minute, he cleared his throat and looked up. He's correct. Liam is the majority shareholder. These are legitimate filings." Chloe looked like she'd been punched in the gut. "No," she whispered, more to herself than anyone. "No, this is insane. This isn't real. He was working in a cafe last year." I leaned back in my seat, crossing one leg over the other. "2 cafes, actually. Both profitable. But I'm sure that's hard for you to understand." Chloe's hands gripped the edge of the table. "You think you can just walk in here and take everything?" I gave her a slow, measured look. "No, I already took it." Another board member, the head of finance, spoke hesitantly. "This changes things. If Liam is the majority shareholder, he can make executive decisions, including appointments and terminations." Chloe snapped her gaze to him. "You're seriously taking his side?" "No one's taking sides," I said coolly. "This is business. Let's keep it professional." I pulled out another file. This one wasn't just paperwork, it was a statement of losses. Let's start with performance. Under Chloe's management, the Western Division has reported 3 consecutive quarters of decline. Over $150 million in lost revenue. Because of market conditions, Chloe started. "And," I interrupted, flipping the page, "unauthorized expenses. Personal expenditures logged as business costs. Shall I list them?" Chloe paled. She knew what was coming. The private villa in Capri, the custom Porsche, the membership to an invitation-only yacht club in Monaco. I paused. Really tasteful. "This is absurd," she hissed. "It's documented, and it's already been forwarded to the SEC. You'll be hearing from them shortly." Chloe stood up abruptly, her chair scraping the floor. "You're not kicking me out of my company!" I stood too. "No, Chloe, I'm kicking you out of mine." Her jaw clenched, and for a second I saw her drop the act. The arrogance, the fake poise. All that was left was fury and disbelief. "You'll regret this," she said, her voice trembling. I tilted my head slightly. "Maybe. But first, let's vote." No one objected. The board moved fast after that. The paperwork was signed. I was named chairman before the coffee even finished brewing in the corner. Chloe tried to storm out with dignity, but even that failed. As she reached the door, 2 SEC agents stepped in. "Chloe Whitmore," one of them said calmly, "we have a warrant for your arrest. You're being charged with corporate fraud and misappropriation of company funds. Gasps echoed around the room. What? No, this is a mistake, she cried, backing away. You can't, Mom. Mom will fix this. Right on cue, Margaret walked in, saw the handcuffs, saw her daughter. Then she saw me. I didn't smile. I didn't flinch. Margaret just stared. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't furious. She was afraid. I knew Margaret wouldn't let it end with Chloe's arrest. She didn't scream or cause a scene in the boardroom. She didn't even flinch when her daughter was let out in cuffs. That was the most dangerous thing about my mother. She never lost control. Her silence was never surrender. It was calculation. The moment she locked eyes with me that morning, I saw it. She wasn't mourning her legacy. She was plotting a comeback, and I was ready. That afternoon, Elena called me as I was reviewing transition memos in my new office, the same corner suite. Margaret used to occupy. She filed. Elena said, no hesitation. Federal court. Accusing you of insider trading, wire fraud, and illegal asset acquisition. I didn't laugh. I didn't panic. I just closed the file I was reading and said, send it to legal, and prep my rebuttal. Margaret thought I was still operating under the old structure, my holding firm, Whitmore Equity Group, the investment umbrella I'd quietly built over the last 5 years. She believed she had leverage, a paper trail. But the thing is, that structure no longer existed. 3 days before I signed the CEO documents, I officially dissolved Whitmore Equity Group. Every share, every asset, every bit of leverage had already been moved into a new corporate entity, Valerian Capital, anonymously registered, legally impenetrable. Margaret was fighting a ghost, and I was the only one who knew the ghost no longer had a heartbeat. I met with my lawyers at a private office 2 blocks from HQ. They came prepared, 2 top-tier corporate litigators and a forensic accountant who spoke in bullet points and timelines. She's relying on the fact that she can link your earlier investments to internal knowledge, one of them said. Her entire case hinges on the assumption that Whitmore Equity Group still holds the controlling shares. Which it doesn't, I replied. No, he confirmed. You're clear. I nodded slowly. Then let her waste her time. Later that night, my phone rang. Margaret Whitmore. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then I answered. Liam. Her voice was colder than ever. No venom, just ice. Mother, I said calmly. So this is your grand move? Undermine your own family, humiliate your sister, take everything we built? I didn't undermine anyone, I replied. I bought it. Fair and legal. You know how this looks, she snapped. You think the press cares about your clever little loopholes? They'll eat you alive. You don't have the spine to withstand that kind of war. I stood at the window of my penthouse, glass of scotch in hand. You really think I didn't plan for this? Silence on the other end. Margaret, I said, dropping the pretense. You may have built the company, but you built it like a castle of mirrors, big, impressive, fragile. You ignored numbers. You ignored people. You ignored me. You were never part of this world, she hissed. You poured coffee and wrote poetry. You wore flannel to family dinners. And you wore arrogance like a crown, I replied. Now it's cracked. Another beat of silence. Then she dropped her last card. If you don't back down, I'll go public. Tell the world how you lied, how you manipulated the board, how you filed a lawsuit using the wrong entity. I cut in. Yeah, good luck spinning that. You'll regret this. I finished my drink. You raised me to fight. Just didn't expect I'd ever fight back. I ended the call. The next morning, headlines spread across every business blog and news ticker. Whitmore matriarch sues son in corporate power clash, insider scandal, or strategic genius. The Liam Whitmore takeover, Valerian Capital, the shadow fund behind $1 billion coup. Investors started calling. So did journalists. But I stayed silent. Let Margaret bury herself. I wasn't just playing offense now. I was watching the world turn its eyes away from her and onto me. 3 days into the lawsuit, Elena burst into my office with a grin I'd only seen once when she got her law school acceptance letter. She blew it. What? She filed a second motion, trying to amend the lawsuit, but the SEC already issued a statement. She handed me a copy. I read it once, then again. The SEC officially confirmed that Valerian Capital is the current majority stakeholder in Whitmore Holdings. No conflict of interest, no evidence of insider trading, full legal clearance granted. Margaret had officially lost every single move. That night, I stood alone on my balcony, wind slicing through my sleeves. The woman who once told me I'd never survive the world she ruled just lost her crown. She tried to silence me with shame, bind me with family obligation, weaponize public image. But you can't shame someone who's made peace with their past, and you can't scare someone who's already lived through your worst. I didn't take down Margaret for vengeance. I did it to build something better, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good to finally, truly win. It ended exactly how it began, with a phone call. Only this time, Margaret didn't sound like the queen of anything. Her voice was thin, like something was unraveling inside her, and she couldn't put it back together. "You've made your point, Liam," she said quietly. "Now end it." I was sitting in my new office, the one that used to belong to her. Floor-to-ceiling windows, custom art, oversized desk, all still intact, except the nameplate now bore mine. "And what, exactly?" I asked, staring out at the skyline. "The lawsuit you filed and lost? The smear campaign that never took off? Or the board you used to manipulate finally seeing you for what you are?" "Don't be cruel," she said. "You're confusing cruelty with honesty," I replied. She exhaled, and for the first time in my life, I heard uncertainty in her voice. "You destroyed your sister. You took everything." I paused. "No, Margaret. Chloe destroyed herself. She thought the company was her playground, and the money, our money, was her allowance. She committed fraud, and I gave the board the truth. That's not destruction. That's justice." There was silence on the other end. I imagined her standing in her penthouse in silence, staring out at a city that no longer bowed to her name. "You're my son," she said eventually. "Do you really hate me that much?" "I don't hate you," I said softly. "I've just stopped needing your approval." She didn't reply, and she didn't have to. I ended the call. The day Chloe pled guilty, it wasn't televised, but word spread fast. Embezzlement, wire fraud, misappropriation of corporate assets. A plea deal was struck, 5 years in federal prison, minimum. No fancy lawyers, no spin, no hiding behind a PR wall. Just cold, legal consequence. Margaret tried to fight it quietly, funded appeals, lobbied friends, made calls to contacts in high places, but no one owed her favors anymore. She was toxic, radioactive, and the empire she once controlled now reported to me. A week later, the board voted unanimously, not just to confirm me as chairman and CEO, but to restructure the entire leadership system. More transparency, financial checks, ethics committees, everything the first used to dream about, while making lattes for investment bros in tailored suits. Elena stood beside me as we finalized the last vote. "You did it," she said, a quiet smile tugging at her lips. "No," I replied, signing the document. "We did. Because the truth was, I didn't climb here alone. I had help, I had grit, and I had 10 years of being underestimated in my back pocket. It's strange how silence feels when it belongs to power. My name is no longer a footnote in family memos. There's no more laughter at my expense at birthdays. There are no more coupons. Instead, there are contracts, partnerships, billion-dollar meetings where my voice leads the room. The media tried to paint it as a rift in the Whitmore dynasty, but that name no longer means what it used to. Now, the name that matters is Valerian, the company I built in the shadows. The lifeboat I climbed into when my own family pushed me off their ship. Margaret still sends emails, empty ones, occasionally pleading, often bitter. I don't respond. Chloe, I doubt I'll hear from her for years. Ryan's the only one I still talk to. He was never cruel, just a passenger on a sinking ship. He reached out a week after the dust settled, told me he was proud of me, that he hoped to earn a spot in the new version of the company. I told him he'd need to apply, like everyone else. But I meant it. Tonight, the first stand on the same balcony I did the night before it all changed. The city still sparkles. The wind still hits sharp, but everything feels different. There's no more rage in my chest, no more need to prove anything. What's left is calm and clarity. I sip my whiskey neat, aged, earned, and I allow myself a moment to feel the weight of it. Not the company, not the title, but the freedom. Because this story was never about revenge. It was about respect, about reclaiming something that was always mine, but was denied because I didn't fit their mold, because I was too soft, too artsy, too normal. Turns out, normal was exactly what this company needed. Turns out, baristas can be billionaires too. Epilogue, I got one last letter from Margaret. Handwritten. That surprised me. It didn't ask for power or pity. It simply said, "You turned out stronger than I thought. Maybe stronger than I ever was. No apology. But that's fine. Some people never change. But I did. And I built something better in the process. From behind the espresso bar, point to the head of the boardroom, Liam Whitmore, CEO chairman, survivor. Story 2. I remember the exact moment my sister stole my wedding. Not in the figurative sense, she literally took it. The date, the venue, the energy I'd been pouring into planning for over a year. And she did it with a glossy smile and a glass of champagne. My name's Claire Brennan. I'm 36, a visual arts professor at a liberal arts college in Seattle. I'm not into trends or attention. I find peace in routine, in sketching alone at my favorite park bench, in deep talks over black coffee. That's probably why my family has always treated me like background noise, compared to my younger sister, Sierra. Sierra is 29. She's a lifestyle influencer with the kind of curated online persona that makes strangers think she's both best friend material and the second coming of a Kardashian. She's always been the center of attention, and she knows it. My parents love her to pieces. Me, I was always the reliable one. Translation: the one who didn't rock the boat when Sierra crashed through it like a cannonball. Last year, I got engaged to Marcus, an architectural designer I met during a lecture series. We connected instantly, two people who loved design, detail, and quiet moments. Our relationship was thoughtful, intentional. So naturally, I wanted a wedding that reflected that. I booked a small, modern art gallery that Marcus and I both loved. It was where he first told me he loved me. We picked May 18th, the same weekend we met, 2 years earlier. Everything was falling into place. The gallery was perfect. My dress was being handmade by one of my former students, and the guest list was small but meaningful. I felt like, finally, this moment was mine. And then Sierra called. "We're having a family dinner," she announced. Big news. I should have known right then. The last time she said that, she revealed a sponsored partnership with a teeth-whitening brand at Grandma's birthday dinner. I walked into our parents' house and felt the tension in the air before I even sat down. Champagne bottles already popped, my mom beaming. My dad trying to play it cool, but his grin betrayed him. Sierra bounced in her seat like a kid on a sugar high. "I'm engaged," she squealed, holding up a ring so large it could double as a disco ball. "To Josh." Josh, her boyfriend of 6 months. An advertising exec who parked his Porsche diagonally like it was a power move. "That's fast," I said, careful to keep my voice neutral. "Oh, and we've picked a date already. May 18th. Isn't that wild?" I felt my stomach flip. "That's my wedding day," she giggled. Actually giggled. "I know, right? But you didn't trademark the date, and your wedding is, like, small, right? Ours is going to be a full production. Josh's uncle got us into the Seville Grand Ballroom. I blinked. That venue was notoriously exclusive. Celebrities booked it for galas. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was the sheer gall of it all. I looked at my parents, expecting someone, anyone, to say something. But my dad just shrugged. Maybe it's best if you adapt, he said. Sierra's wedding will have more reach, more coverage. It's good for the family. I stared at him. Coverage? Mom chimed in. Claire, your ceremony's more private, right? People will understand if you move it. I stood up. I'm not moving it. Sierra's face tightened. Don't be selfish. And that was the moment it clicked. This wasn't an accident. She didn't pick May 18th because it was meaningful to her. She picked it because it was meaningful to me. That night, I told Marcus everything. He listened without interruption, just held my hand and said, "We'll figure it out." But the very next morning, I got the call. "Claire, this is Michelle from the gallery. I'm so sorry, but we've been informed of a last-minute change. The space is no longer available on May 18th. My voice cracked. What? Why? A pause. It's been rebooked, under Sierra Brennan's name. I dropped the phone. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stood in our kitchen, gripping the counter so hard. My knuckles went white. She didn't just take my date. She stole the space where Marcus and I fell in love, like it was hers to have. Marcus came in holding 2 coffees. He saw my face and didn't even ask. I told him anyway. She took the gallery. He set the drinks down. Then we'll find another place. I shook my head. It's not about a place anymore. She wanted to erase me. I tried calling my parents. My dad told me maybe I should have locked the deposit sooner. I had. She outbid me. My mom? It's just a venue, Claire. Be the bigger person. Always the bigger person. Always the one who swallows the insult and smiles. Not this time. I blocked Sierra on every platform. Deleted the wedding board I'd been building for over a year. Told Marcus, I don't want to do this anymore. Do what? Pretend everything's fine. Pretend this isn't ripping me apart. Marcus didn't flinch. He grabbed his phone and said, "Come with me." We drove for over an hour. Silence the whole way. My mind racing in circles. Eventually, we pulled up to a gated estate nestled into a wooded hill. The kind of place you see in magazines. Clean modern lines, glass walls reflecting trees and sky. A security guard opened the gate without asking questions. I turned to Marcus. "Where are we?" He smiled. "Somewhere no one can take from you." Inside was a private art estate. Gallery halls, reflection pools, indoor gardens. It was breathtaking. "This is yours?" "I've kept a low profile," he said. "I don't design for clients anymore. I create for myself. This is my personal space. And if you want it, it's yours." I stood in stunned silence. "She took everything from you," Marcus said. "But this can't be taken. This is us." I felt my throat tighten. Then I whispered, "She's going to lose her mind." Marcus smiled. "She has no idea what's coming." And he was right. Because that night, Sierra's fiancé messaged me. "You deserve better than what they did to you. Can we talk?" At first, I thought Josh's message had to be a mistake. "You deserve better than what they did to you. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen like it was speaking another language. This was Sierra's fiancé, the man who, by all appearances, was perfectly fine letting her bulldoze over my wedding day. We had never had a real conversation before, not even during the holidays. Now, suddenly, he wanted to talk? I didn't respond right away. I just set the phone down and walked around the kitchen, replaying the message in my head. Marcus came in and handed me a glass of wine, raising an eyebrow. "You okay?" I hesitated. "Josh messaged me." Marcus sat down slowly. "What'd he say?" I showed him. He read it twice and set the phone down without saying anything. I think we both knew it meant more than just a guilty conscience. Later that night, I replied to Josh with one word. "Why?" He answered almost immediately. "Because I'm not blind. I see what's happening. And I think I might be next." That stopped me cold. For the first time, I realized maybe Josh wasn't just another prop in Sierra's carefully curated world. Maybe he'd seen behind the curtain, too. We agreed to meet, just coffee, neutral ground. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea, but something in my gut told me to hear him out. We met at a quiet little cafe downtown, the kind where no one looks twice at anyone. I wore a hoodie and sunglasses, hoping no one would recognize me. Josh showed up dressed like he was headed to a board meeting, crisp blazer, shiny shoes, but his expression looked tired. Real tired. He didn't waste time. I didn't know she stole your venue. She told you I gave it up, didn't she? He nodded. Said you postponed for financial reasons. That your wedding was more of a passion project, while ours was Errol's celebration. I didn't question it at first. I almost laughed. Sounds like her, he sighed. It's more than that now. Claire, she's turning this wedding into a PR campaign. Sponsorships, branded content, even a production crew. She wants us to fake our story, how we met, the proposal, everything. I blinked. Wait, fake it? She wants us to pretend we met on a rooftop in Rome. We actually met at a sushi bar in Bellevue. I couldn't help it, I snorted. Rome sounds better. Sure, except it's a lie. And everything's becoming a lie. He rubbed his face, and for the first time, I saw it. The cracks in his perfect image. He wasn't just having doubts. He was unraveling. I found something else, he said, leaning in. She has a burner phone. My eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? She hides it in her vanity drawer. I saw her texting someone, then deleting everything. When I asked about it, she flipped out, called me paranoid. You think she's cheating? I don't know. But I don't trust her. Not anymore. There was a long silence, the kind that settles in when two people realize they're standing in the wreckage of someone else's illusion. He looked me dead in the eye. Whatever you're planning, I want in. I wasn't sure what we were planning yet, but I knew this much. Sierra had crossed a line, and the fallout was coming. That night, I told Marcus everything. The burner phone, the faked love story, Josh's doubts. Marcus didn't flinch. If anything, he looked even more focused. This is why we don't shrink back, he said. They tried to erase your story. Now we make sure yours is the one people remember. The next few weeks moved fast. Marcus quietly pulled together a team. Designers, printers, event coordinators, people I didn't even know he had connections with. Turns out, being a low-key millionaire designer comes with a Rolodex of very discreet professionals. Our invitations went out first, hand-delivered, heavy cardstock, gold leaf accents, minimalist design. Each one came with a private RSVP code and an exclusive location, the Brennan Redwood Wedding. Venue, the Forest House Estate. The name wasn't public, but in Marcus's world, it was the place. Word spread. Quiet at first, then louder. Sierra may have had followers, but we had people who actually mattered in the industry. Curators, architects, media editors. Names that made headlines just by attending a dinner party. I didn't post anything online. Didn't announce it. I let the silence do the talking. Then, right before Sierra's big wedding trailer drop, a major architecture blog published a leaked guest list for our event, along with a subtle headline, Architectural Heir Marcus Redwood to wed local artist at private estate event. Boom. Sierra called me 3 hours later. She wasn't mad. She was smug. Hey, sis, she sang into the phone. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We're releasing our trailer this weekend. I know you're planning something low-key, but thought I'd warn you. Ours might overshadow it a bit. I didn't say a word. Just let her talk. 2 days later, her trailer never launched. Because by then, her own fiancé had put the brakes on everything, refused to finalize the guest list, canceled the video release. And that's when she cracked. I started getting messages, angry texts, screaming voicemails. What did you say to him? Are you trying to ruin my life? I didn't answer any of them. Meanwhile, Marcus was in his studio finishing the seating chart. There was one seat reserved right at the front for a very specific guest. The editor-in-chief of Flair and Form, the lifestyle magazine Sierra had been begging to feature her for years. And they weren't there for her. The day before the wedding, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a velvet ring box. At first, I thought someone had sent me jewelry. But when I opened it, there was a flash drive inside. Taped to the lid was a note in Josh's handwriting. She doesn't know I kept this. It's everything. Later that night, I plugged it into Marcus's laptop. What I found made my stomach twist. Recordings, texts, voice memos. Sierra bragging about sabotaging my wedding, laughing about how I'd fold under pressure, calling Marcus a nobody with a sketch pad. And one final voice note, clearly meant for her best friend. She'll cancel. She always does. That gallery's mine. I don't care what it takes. She can cry later. This day belongs to me. I sat there in silence, fists clenched, heart pounding. Marcus turned to me and said, "Let's give her exactly what she asked for." The morning of our wedding came quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of calm you only feel right before something big happens. Sunlight poured through the tall pine trees that framed the forest house estate. The air smelled like cedar and clean earth. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. No buzzing panic. No sadness clinging to my chest. Just this strange, beautiful stillness. Inside the bridal suite, everything was soft and warm. Lace, pale gold, wildflowers. The makeup artist was humming some folk tune, but I wasn't really listening. I was watching the screen of my phone light up every few seconds with notifications. News outlets had picked up the guest list leak. Architectural royalty marries Seattle artist at private estate. A list names confirmed. My inbox was flooded with interview requests. But what made my heart really stop? Sierra hadn't posted anything. No trailer, no TikTok countdown, nothing. Just radio silence. I could almost hear her nails tapping her vanity in frustration, wondering how I, the quiet sister, the artsy one, was suddenly everywhere without trying. Then, a knock at the door. It was Josh. He looked sharp. Tailored navy suit. Tie matched the color of the peonies in my bouquet. But his eyes were different, softer, like he was finally at peace. He handed me another velvet box, smaller than the last. "What now?" I asked, half joking. He glanced around before leaning in. "She doesn't know I recorded the last call, the one with the gallery coordinator." Inside the box was a flash drive. I opened my hand, and he dropped it in like it weighed something heavy. "She paid her off, Claire. Straight up bribed her to bump you off the calendar. Told her the press exposure would be worth it." I didn't say anything. I just closed my fingers around the drive. Josh stepped back, letting out a quiet breath. This isn't about me anymore. I thought I loved her, but I was just part of the stage set. He looked up. She didn't want a husband. She wanted an audience. I nodded slowly. She's losing both. Marcus showed up a moment later, calm, collected. His hand brushed my back lightly, and I felt myself sink into that touch like home. "It's time," he said. The ceremony started exactly at 3:00 p.m., the time that was supposed to be Sierra's, the time she stole. Only now, it was mine again. I walked out onto the garden path with the sun filtering through the trees, casting golden light across the grass. The string quartet began to play something slow, cinematic. I felt the weight of every step, not from nerves but from pride. Marcus stood at the altar, looking at me like I was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. When I reached him, he whispered, "You look like fire." We exchanged vows under a curved glass arch, surrounded by people who knew our story and respected it. No photographers snapping staged photos. No brand logos, just us. But the real moment, that came during the reception. Marcus tapped his glass with the edge of a fork. A hush fell over the garden. "Thank you all for joining us," he said. "This day is about love, of course, but also about truth." He looked at me. I nodded. Then he gestured to the AV team. We'd like to share something. The screen flickered to life. First, a short montage. Photos of us at the gallery where we met. Early sketches we worked on together. The moment I said yes. Laughter from our friends. Real things. Then, the shift. Sierra's voice, sharp, smug, filled the air. She'll cancel. She always does. That gallery is mine. The guests looked stunned. Some gasped. Others shook their heads slowly. Then came the recordings, the texts. Her mocking Marcus, calling the wedding low-budget art school energy. Laughing with her friend about stealing my venue. Admitting she paid off the gallery coordinator. And finally, the voice memo Josh had delivered that morning. If Claire really loved that guy, she'd step aside. I'm the one who deserves the spotlight. Always have. Silence followed. Then came a low murmur, the uncomfortable kind. People whispering behind hands, casting glances at the entrance. And like clockwork, she showed up. Sierra, standing in the doorway in her white designer gown, makeup smeared, hair still in its wedding day curls. Alone. The crowd parted around her like she was smoke. She looked at the screen, then at me, then at Marcus. Her expression cracked. What the hell is this? She hissed, voice trembling. You ambushed me? No one said a word. Then, from behind her, someone stepped forward. My mother. She wasn't smiling. Enough, Mom said. Leave. Sierra turned, stunned. What? You've embarrassed this family long enough. This isn't your day. And it never was. Sierra's mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no script, no camera-ready quip, just silence. She turned and stormed out. 3 days after the wedding, I got a letter. No return address, just my name, written in that sharp, looping handwriting I'd known since childhood. Inside was a single sheet of paper. This isn't over. You stole everything from me. Just wait. I didn't feel fear. I felt done. She'd already lost the only things that mattered to her, her image and her control. After the video went viral, her brand deals dried up. Her PR team dropped her. The skincare line she'd been hyping for months, canceled, quietly and completely. Josh? He ended it publicly and with dignity. His statement was short and final. We've decided not to move forward with the engagement due to irreconcilable values. Then he donated their unused wedding budget to a charity for abused women, in my name. That stung her worse than any headline. As for me, I went back to work a few weeks later. My department offered me a promotion. I'm now developing a new studio course called Power Through Storytelling, helping students find their voices after being silenced, belittled, or erased. And Marcus and I, we spent our honeymoon in Florence. Art galleries, tucked away cafes, slow mornings, even slower nights. The kind of peace I didn't think I'd ever get back, but did. Sometimes I sit with him on our balcony and just watch the sun stretch over the hills, and I think about how far we've come. Sierra tried to destroy me, but in doing so, she handed me the clearest gift I've ever received: clarity. I don't live in anyone's shadow anymore. I don't dim myself so someone else can shine. I don't apologize for existing quietly or loving deeply. I don't make room for people who only want to erase me. And I will never again let someone like Sierra write my story. Because this time, I wrote it myself. And it's just the beginning. Story 2. When my cousin Ava clinked her champagne glass midair on a first-class flight to Rome, smiling like she'd just won the lottery. She had no idea she was about to lose everything. She looked so proud, so smug. But what she didn't know was that the money funding her luxury European adventure, yeah, that came straight from my son's surgery fund. The fund I'd spent 2 years building up penny by penny to help him walk without pain. I'm Dylan, 36, single dad to the strongest kid I know, Leo. He's 7 and was born with a rare condition that makes it difficult for him to walk or even stand for long. It's not life-threatening, but it makes everyday life a challenge. His world is filled with ramps, braces, fatigue, and more heartbreak than any kid should carry. But there was hope. Surgery could fix it mostly. The specialist said it would give Leo the chance to run, jump, and just be a kid. That was all I needed to hear. I cut every corner, worked double shifts, skipped holidays and birthdays. Every dollar went into that fund. I was up to $14,000. We were getting close. Then Ava showed up. 3 months before the whole thing blew up, Ava moved in with my sister, Megan. She'd been laid off from some marketing job and claimed she just needed a place to regroup. She came off charming good with Leo, generous even, always asking how he was doing, what his surgery entailed, how I was handling the costs, what bank I was saving with. At the time, I took it as concern. Looking back now, I want to punch a wall. Last Thursday, during a break at work, one checked my savings account, just a routine glance before moving some money into a short-term bond. The balance hit me like a truck, $0.0. I blinked, refreshed the page. Still zero. I thought maybe it was a glitch. Maybe I was looking at the wrong account, but no. My stomach sank as I checked the transaction history, multiple transfers, small amounts each day over the last week, all going to an account I didn't recognize. The sickening realization hit. Someone had cleaned me out. I called the bank in a panic. They confirmed the transfers came from my devices, from my home network. Not a hacker. It was someone with access. Then my phone buzzed. Ava had just posted a story on Instagram. I tapped it. She was in a plush leather seat with a champagne flute in hand. Caption, "Chasing Dreams." I didn't even need to scroll. I already knew, but I did anyway. Next story, her in the airport lounge. Then designer bags piled high. Then a boarding pass to Rome. And finally the gut punch. Ava in front of the Colosseum, in a silk dress with the caption, "Living my best life." "Sorry, not sorry," I called her. No answer. Texted. Ignored. So I called Megan. "Hey," she said cheerfully. "Ava stole Leo's surgery fund," I said, struggling to stay composed. A beat of silence. No, she wouldn't. She did. Check her Instagram. More silence. Then a sharp breath. "Oh my God, Dylan." She told me she'd been saving for this trip. "I had no idea she was using your laptop sometimes. Or your Wi-Fi. I'm so sorry." Leo tugged at my sleeve while I tried to hold myself together. "Dad, what's wrong? How do you tell your child that someone he trusts just stole the one thing he was looking forward to?" He smiled up at me, holding a tiny souvenir keychain, a miniature Eiffel Tower. "Look, Dad, like where Ava is." I almost broke right there. She probably bought that trinket with his surgery money. As if that wasn't cruel enough, my phone rang again. "Unknown number," I answered. "Oh, come on, Dylan. Don't be so dramatic. It was Ava. You stole my son's future," I said, my voice cold. "It's not like he's dying," she laughed, as if that excused it. "Kids bounce back. I needed this trip." "You needed it?" I said. "You needed to blow $14,000 stat wasn't yours? Relax. I'll pay it back. Eventually." "Eventually? Like Leo's childhood could be put on layaway? You stole from a disabled child." She scoffed. "Geez, lighten up. It's not like I robbed a bank." "No, Ava," I said. "You robbed my son." I hung up. I wasn't looking for an apology. I already knew what I had to do. I filed a police report. The bank flagged the transactions. But because the transfers were from my devices, it was classified as a civil matter. No arrest, no charges, just a legal mess that would take months to resolve. Meanwhile, Ava was living her Roman fantasy. Designer clothes, rooftop dinners, hashtags like #blessed, #wanderlust, #haters gonna hate. I didn't have time for rage. I needed action. Then Megan called. "Dylan," she said. "I was cleaning out AVA's laptop browser history. You're not going to believe this." "What now?" She applied for a financial management job. My jaw clenched. The irony burned. The same person who stole from a disabled child thought she was qualified to manage other people's money. I didn't hesitate. I pulled up her Instagram stories, screen capped everything. Her boarding pass, her smug captions, her little monologue about living her best life. Then I wrote a short email to the hiring manager of the company she applied to. I attached every screenshot and included this line: before hiring Ava Bryant for a financial role, you should be aware of her recent actions. The money she used for this trip was stolen from a child's surgery fund. 3 hours later, I got a response. Her offer was rescinded. She didn't know it yet, but the ground under her feet had started to crumble. That night, Megan texted me again. She's posting a rant. I checked. Ava's story was a string of passive-aggressive nonsense about toxic family and jealousy and how haters always try to tear you down. One line stood out. "You can't stop me. I'm still thriving." She'd called me a hater after stealing from Leo. Then came another call from an unknown number. I answered. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. "You got me fired." I let the silence simmer. "Oh, so you found out," I said. "You sabotaged me." "No, Ava. You sabotaged yourself the moment you decided your vacation mattered more than my son's legs," she shrieked. "I told you I'd pay you back. My kid's life doesn't wait for your refund schedule. So that's how it is?" she snapped. "You want to play dirty? Fine. Let's see what the rest of the family thinks." And she hung up. Ava might have been delusional, but I knew she'd stir the pot. Sure enough, my phone lit up all night. First, Aunt Marie. "I get that you're angry, but was it really necessary to get Ava fired?" Then, Cousin Troy. "Can't you guys just talk this out? She made a mistake." And finally, Uncle Dave. "She'll pay you back. Don't ruin her life over this." Funny how no one mentioned the life she tried to ruin. But then one message that made it all worth it. My grandfather, who rarely said anything during family fights, texted, "She stole from my great-grandson. You have my full support. Do what you have to do." And just like that, the tide began to turn. Ava thought she could guilt-trip me into backing down. But this wasn't over. Not even close. After my grandfather backed me up, something shifted. It was like a dam had cracked. The silence in the family started to break. People who were on the fence or just didn't want to get involved suddenly started asking questions. And Ava, she kept digging herself deeper. She went full PR mode. Posts about protecting your peace. And not everyone clapping for you is happy for you. She shared inspirational quotes over filtered pictures of pasta and fountains, like she was trying to rebrand herself as some kind of lifestyle guru. She even went live at one point, sitting on a balcony with a glass of wine, saying things like, "Some people just can't stand to see you happy." Meanwhile, I was at home explaining to my son why his surgery had to be postponed. Again, Megan and I weren't done yet. She was just as furious, maybe more, because Ava had used her place as a launch pad for the whole scam. She started combing through Ava's email drafts and old messages. She didn't have to dig far before things got even worse. "Dylan," she said over the phone, "you're not going to believe this. That's how you know something really bad is coming." She's been telling completely different stories to everyone in the family. I sat up. "What do you mean?" "She told Aunt Marie that you offered to give her the money for a fresh start." "Offered," I repeated, jaw tight. "Then she told Troy that it was a loan you agreed on." "And to Uncle Dave?" "She said your parents gave it to her as a gift." I just shook my head, laughing the kind of laugh that means you're running out of patience. "So she's planting a different lie in each pocket." "Exactly. That way, no one knows what the truth actually is. She's playing defense from every angle." "She's good," I muttered. "I'll give her that. But she forgot who she's dealing with." Megan and I went into overdrive. We organized every piece of evidence: bank statements, timestamps from the transfers, screenshots of her messages, the social media stories, the job offer revocation. We laid it all out like a case file. I even labeled the folder Operation Reality Check. It all led up to one thing, a dinner invite. No, seriously. Her mom, my aunt, texted me, and a bunch of other family members, saying we needed to sit down and clear the air. You'd think it was a misunderstanding, not grand theft, but I went. Of course I did. She wanted to play the game. I brought the scoreboard. The evening was already tense when I walked in. Everyone was there, cousins, uncles, people who had been sending me, "Can't we just move on?" messages. Ava was sitting at the far end of the table, trying to look relaxed. She was dressed up, full makeup, still playing the victim card. We made it through dinner. Barely. People were making awkward small talk, but the air was thick. Finally, Aunt Marie cleared her throat. "I just think," she started, cautiously, "this has all gone too far. We're family, and we should try to find peace again." I leaned back in my chair. "I agree," I said, "which is why we need to get the truth out there. All of it." Ava's smile froze just a little. "I think we should clear up what exactly happened," I continued, "because from what I hear, there are a lot of versions floating around." I turned to Aunt Marie. "You said Ava told you I offered her money, right?" She blinked. Yes. That's what she told me." Then I looked at Troy. "You heard it was a loan?" He nodded. "Yeah, that you guys had an agreement." Then Uncle Dave. "She said my parents gave her the money as a gift?" His expression darkened. "That's what she told me. I placed my phone on the table. So which one is it, Ava? Was it a gift, a loan, or something I just handed over out of generosity?" The table went silent. Ava tried to laugh it off. "Oh my God, are we really doing this? It was just money." "You make it sound like I stole someone's car." I stared straight at her. "No, you stole my son's legs." She scoffed, but her voice was thinner now. "You're exaggerating. I told you I'd pay it back." "Then why the lies?" I asked. "Why tell a different version to every person here?" She looked around like she was hoping someone would come to her rescue. No one did. And then my grandfather, who had been quiet until now, cleared his throat. "You spent $14,000 in handbags and hotels," he said, voice steady, "while Leo limped to school every day. And now you sit here expecting pity?" Ava opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her mom finally spoke, voice low. "Is it true, Ava? Did you lie to all of us?" "Mom, God, you're all acting like I'm a criminal. It's not like I stole from strangers, it's family." And there it was. That sentence. That exact mindset. Like blood gave her a license to do whatever she wanted. My grandfather pushed back his chair and stood. "Dylan," he said, "do what you have to do. You have my full support." And just like that, the floodgates opened. Uncle Dave, Troy, even Aunt Marie. One by one, they stood and walked away from Ava physically and emotionally. She sat there stunned, blinking like she hadn't just watched her social circle collapse in real time. I stood up too. "I already did what I had to do," I said. "Filed the civil suit this morning." Ava gasped. "You what?" Her mom turned to her, disappointment written all over her face. "Do you even understand what you've done?" But Ava didn't answer. She didn't have one. That dinner changed everything. Word spread fast. The same relatives who were once defending her stopped responding to her messages. The ones who weren't sure before, they knew now. The evidence was clear. And more importantly, her reaction told them everything they needed to know. But if Ava thought that dinner was rock bottom, she was wrong. Because the universe had a few more surprises for her. A week later, I got an actual invitation. From Ava. She was throwing a themed dinner party, Parisian themed, at her parents' house. Yep. She invited me, Megan, even Leo. The message said, "Let's leave the drama behind us. Come enjoy good vibes and French cuisine." Batu got Leo some amazing souvenirs. Souvenirs. Like they could replace the time she stole from him. I didn't go, but Megan did. She wasn't there to eat. She was there to gather the final nail in Ava's designer coffin. Ava got a little too tipsy halfway through the night. After that video made it into the hands of my lawyer, things moved fast. Not in a courtroom sense, those things always take time, but in the real world, everyday consequences sense. Ava might have gotten away with the money, but she also documented every piece of evidence against herself and wrapped it up in a neat little social media bow. The video of her bragging at that dinner, that was the nail in her coffin. Less than a week later, her phone started blowing up for the wrong reasons. The company that had rescinded her job offer found the video and posted a quiet update on LinkedIn, confirming why they dropped her. People talk. Recruiters saw it. It went viral in smaller circles, especially among people in finance. A woman who stole from a disabled child and then toasted it with Merlot? Yeah, not exactly a hiring win. Then came the court notice. She was officially being sued for civil fraud and theft. And just like that, Ava stopped posting. No more rooftops, no more luxury tags, no more haters gonna hate. She panicked. First, she called Megan, begging her to talk some sense into me. Megan didn't even entertain it. Then she started calling other relatives. Everyone was polite, but no one offered help. People weren't angry anymore, they were disappointed. And Ava hated that more than anger. Disappointment? That meant they'd already let go of her. She even tried to spin a story online about how she was being bullied, about how some people can't let go of old grudges, and how it was just a misunderstanding. But the internet doesn't forget. Someone dropped the screenshots. Someone posted the video. The comments turned fast. She stole from a disabled kid. Why are you defending her? Actions have consequences. Not everything is a misunderstanding. When you empty a child's medical fund, no one was buying it. Then came the final act. Ava showed up at my house. It was close to midnight. I was sitting on the couch, half asleep, when I heard banging on the door. I opened it slowly, and there she was, makeup streaked, hair a mess, standing in the cold like all the pride had finally drained out of her. "You happy now?" she snapped, voice cracked. "You ruined my life." I didn't flinch. "No, Ava, you ruined your life. I just showed people what you did." Her jaw clenched. "I hope you're proud of yourself. The whole family hates me." I crossed my arms. "The family didn't turn on you. They saw the truth. That's the difference." She was quiet for a beat, and then, softer, like she didn't even believe her own words. "I don't have anywhere to go." I looked her in the eye. "That's not my problem." And I closed the door. That was the last time I saw her face to face. A few days later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, $2,000 in cash and a folded note. "Dylan, this is all I have left. I sold my laptop, some clothes, a few things. I know it's not enough. I know it doesn't fix anything. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm sorry." Ava, it wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. Maybe the first real thing she'd done in a long time. I added the money to Leo's fund, and 2 weeks later, the thing I'd been working toward for 2 years too long, heavy years, finally happened. Leo had his surgery. I don't remember much about the hospital stay, just bits and pieces. The sound of monitors, his small hand squeezing mine before the anesthesia kicked in, the hours I spent pacing, waiting, hoping. The surgery was successful. The doctors said he'd need months of physical therapy, but the results would come, and they did. Slowly at first. A few steps, some exercises, new braces, small improvements. Then one day, about 3 months later, I was out on the porch watching him in the yard. He was walking on his own, no crutches, no support, just him and his shadow on the grass. He looked back at me and grinned. "Dad, watch this." He took off. It wasn't a sprint. It wasn't perfect, but it was a run. He ran. My eyes blurred. My heart ached in the best way. I watched him laugh and stumble and catch himself, arms swinging like wings. He stopped, breathless, smiling like his whole soul had cracked open to let the light in. "I'm gonna run so fast the bad stuff can't catch me," he said. And in that moment, I knew he already had. Everything we went through, every ounce of frustration, every fight, every slammed door, every sleepless night, it all led here. To this, to freedom, to healing, to a kid running across the yard with the wind on his face and nothing holding him back. And maybe that's the part Ava never understood. This wasn't about money. It was never just about the money. It was about what it meant, about who it was for, about what it gave my son, the one thing he deserved more than anything else, the chance to be a child, to move through this world without pain, to play, to grow, to run. Ava had tried to steal that, and yeah, she paid the price. But more importantly, Leo got what was his, and me, I got my peace. Because this whole story, it's not just about betrayal, or revenge, or karma. It's about accountability. It's about fighting for what's right, even when everyone tells you to let it go. It's about knowing that family doesn't give someone the right to cross your boundaries and rob your future. And it's about standing up for the ones who can't fight for themselves yet. Leo can fight now, and he's fast. So fast the past can't catch him. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. She stood up with a wine glass and gave a speech. Shout out to my cousin's savings account, she slurred, laughing. None of this would have been possible without you. Her friends laughed along. Megan hit record. That video was the final piece we needed. When Ava lunged for her phone, it was already too late. That video, I sent it to my lawyer the next morning. Ava didn't know it yet, but the clock had officially started ticking.